Good morning. I am here with the lovely Elayna Fernández, who is a four-time TEDx speaker. She's a TEDx organizer and certified speaking coach. Elayna is a best-selling author, international keynote speaker, and award-winning storyteller. I love it. Elayna's passion is to help aspiring entrepreneurs craft, tell, and turn their painful stories into passion streams of income so they can break cycles, find peace, and feel whole. Named one of the 125 top impactful leaders to know worldwide and a woman of influence by Success Magazine and often featured in national and international media, Elayna has been sponsored by over 500 brands. As a multiple trauma survivor, her encouraging coaching style is focused on clarity, compassion, and connection. She's also a contributing writer for Entrepreneur Magazine. Elayna is going to be speaking to us about improving your work culture and boosting your business growth with Communication C.P.R. Looking forward to having this chat with you, Elayna. So tell us a little bit about you first.
Thank you, Randy. I'm really pleased to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. As you said, my name is Elayna Fernández. I live in Dallas, Texas, but I'm from the Dominican Republic, and I am a mother of four daughters. Are you ready for the ages? They're 21, 20, 10, and 4. So very, very widespread motherhood there. And what I do is I have been blogging on my blog, The Positive Mom, for 19 years. And throughout my journey, I've been sharing my painful stories and turning them into passive income and teaching other moms how to do that. And because I have experienced a lot of trauma, I have learned how to turn that trauma into something positive. And I always say that if you don't transform your trauma, then you end up transmitting it. So I'm all about breaking those cycles. And one of the cycles that we have to break as people is the cycle of poverty so that we can then break trauma cycles, because it takes money and time and awareness to actually come out of financial stuckness and financial slavery, as I call it. So that's a little bit about me. We can go into deeper a little later, but I want to say something fun because, why not? I'm also 4'8". So now you know how tall I am or how short I am.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being brave to come out and share your stories and also to help people out there. I also have 4 kids, but I have 4 boys.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're very close together. They're within 4.5 years. So all of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. Yes. I
So
always
I feel for you.
I feel for you too, because I always say that motherhood is the most triggering and transformational experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little, so that's the personal side. Tell us a little bit about the business side. What are you doing in business right now?
Yeah, so I remember when my oldest daughters were 1 and 2, we were experiencing homelessness, and I had just become a single mom. And I remember, being on the ground in the fetal position, thinking that life was over and that things would never work out, and being in a very, very dark place and being just thinking, oh my goodness, as my cheek touched the floor and I was tasting my salty tears and thinking to myself, we're never going to make it and this is over. And so that moment created my platform, The Positive Mom, because I had a flash of inspiration in which I thought, you know, I don't know what to do, but I know who I can be. And so that was the first moment that I wrote a to be list. And this is a practice that I have every single day of my life. Instead of writing what to do, I write who I want to be that day. And every day is a new beginning. And so in that moment in 2004, I decided that I wanted to be a positive mom. And that's how my blog got started. And now I reach 168 countries, millions of women worldwide that tune into my blog for inspiration, for tools, for really things that they can do to manage their emotions. And because of my entrepreneurial success, Randy, I was able to, or I have been very, very grateful and honored to partner with a lot of corporate sponsors, being an influencer and working in corporations to teach these tools to leaders that want to be trauma responsive, that want to be inclusive, that want to really make sure that everybody is what I call the trifecta of emotional wholeness, seen, safe, and supported. So this is what brought us here today, because I am really passionate about creating workspaces that work for everyone, that actually address issues that we thought were too personal or too taboo before. But really, I always say that pain is the common thread of humanity. So it's the one experience we all share. Like, I know that we don't know each other very well, Randy, but I know that you've been through loss, you've been through grief, you've been through trauma, whether you acknowledge it or not. This is something that we all have in common. And so, not addressing this as a leader is a huge mistake, and it is a huge misconception that that is compartmentalized, like that belongs at home, that that belongs for your friends. As a leader, we need to be responsive for this. So this is why we're here today to talk about work environments, because when we don't address people as people that are multifaceted, multidimensional, and that experience pain on a regular basis and bring it to work, then we cannot have effective workplaces.
Absolutely. And I think, that's the change of today, is that they're looking at people in a holistic view rather than just the work that they're doing in the office. They're now looking at all the different parts of our life and being more accepting, being more flexible, you know, even certain things the whole world has been going through and causing change in the workplace and making it a hybrid, where you could be in the office, you could be at home, you could be on the road, you could be anywhere. So I think all the change is good. Unfortunately, they usually come from bad things, from bad events or bad experiences, but they do cause change. And quite often we see a lot of positive change, right? Because we take those things and we learn from them, we make the changes we need to make, and we make it better. So unfortunately, it has to come from unfortunate situations in most cases, but at least we get change from it, right? We learn from it and we go forward. So
Absolutely.
tell me, what is the most essential key to cultivate a work culture where everyone feels safe, included, and that they belong?
I love that question because, one of the things that I always say is that we are all suffering. And one thing that a leader needs to do, and I think is the key to everything that you said, is to validate their employees. And what is validation? Let me talk about validation first, and then we can go through that. But basically, what I'm talking about is that quality that allows a leader to allow someone's emotional experience and to also acknowledge it. So one of the things that we have, and it's a huge misconception, is that people want to be motivated. And every leadership book that we've ever read, it's like how to motivate employees, how to motivate your team to achieve goals or to do high performance or for more productivity. But in reality, people want acknowledgement, and not only of their thoughts, their values, their dreams, their beliefs, their contributions, but also their concerns. And what we usually do is that we dismiss, downplay, and deny someone's pain, someone's concern. So if I go to you, Randy, as a leader, and I say, oh my goodness, I think I'm not going to meet those numbers, this quota. And you're like, oh, you got this, girl. I believe in you. That motivation may work, but actually may drive me further into fear. It may drive me further into stress because I'm going to think, oh, I really don't think I can. And Randy here believes in me, and now I don't know what to do. So a better approach rather than motivation is validation. Like, oh my goodness, Elayna, what's going on? Tell me more. What's your concern? What's worrying you? And listening. So listening without fixing, because that's another problem that we have in our society, is denying, downplaying, dismissing, but also going into fix mode. So a leader needs to listen to validate. Listen to validate. That's the key. When we listen to validate, it's really going to help people feel seen, safe, and supported, and say, Elayna, I hear your concerns. They're valid. I see what you're thinking. I see, I understand what you're saying. Or I don't understand, tell me more until I understand, right? But when you listen to me as a leader, I know that I matter. I know that I'm not crazy. Because motivation makes us feel crazy. If you say, oh, that's going to resolve itself, you got it, you've got this, I'm going to think like I'm imagining things, or maybe I'm just not good enough and it's just easy for everybody else. But when a leader says, wow, that sounds really hard, oof, I would be concerned too. What? That sounds awful. Oh my goodness, this is what you're dealing with? Then now I feel like, I have someone in my corner. I have someone that cares about me. I matter to them. They are there for me. And guess what? I might come up with the answer right there, because as we validate a problem or a concern, then we actually help people to move through that problem. I always say that it's not motivation, but validation that helps us move through emotional pain. And there's a lot of that in every workspace, because we often go through ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and those ACEs over time turn into limiting beliefs, turning to, triggering things that when we get set off and our buttons get pushed by any tiny little thing. And so it gets compounded because people don't validate it, and now often makes us out to be, oh, she's always offended, or she's so sensitive, or something like that. And then you become really guarded. Your creativity actually can't be expressed, because when we are not able to allow and express the painful emotions, we are also not able to allow and express everything else that's amazing, that's waiting to flourish. And that's why I always say that validation is the prerequisite to vulnerability.
I actually love that. I love that you made that comparison, and that they're, because we're always talking about motivate people, but you don't realize that that motivation could also be hindering somebody, right? In their progress or their mental state or whatnot. And you don't necessarily think about that. So I
Yeah.
love that, to validate. And one of the things that you're taught if you're in like a therapy or something is that um to validate the other person when they're speaking, to let them know that they're heard, to let them know, so I love that approach. I love that approach for business. So thank you for sharing that and making
No,
us aware of it.
yeah, Randy, I'll tell you how I learned that, because I'm glad that you got it and that you have seen it in your own life and in your own leadership, how that works. And even like you said, in therapy. And I'll tell you a quick story about how that came to be in my life, and when I actually found out that motivation can be detrimental. It was when I was 19 years old. I'm 47 today, 47 years young. And so that was in 1996 when I was 19 years old. And in March of 1996, I actually was going to school, feeling really great because I had escaped, poverty. I grew up in a slum, and also dysfunction in my home, a lot of violence in my childhood. And so here I was in the city going to school, really excited to start a new life. And I get in a transportation car, or so I thought. And when I went to pay the gentleman for the fare, he actually said that I was going to pay in a different way. He took me to a remote location, and those were the most horrible hours of my life. His weapon was a baseball bat. I was, just destroyed as a human, not only verbally, physically, sexually, emotionally, but also spiritually. I just wanted to disappear and to, you know, get over with. So, but at the same time, the human spirit is really interesting because I was fighting him. And so he said to me, because it's really crazy how, people who want to harm others, they kind of narrate what they're doing and what they're going to do. And it was really crazy when he said to me, I'm going to take you somewhere else, and then, you'll let me do it when you're dead. And so that's when I knew it was over. And so he got in the front seat again, of the car, because everything happened in this car, that he was driving. And as he started the car, it didn't turn on. The car didn't start. He was getting nervous. I grew up in a slum, so I didn't know cars very well, but I saw that the seguro, I'm looking for a word in English. When I get emotional, my English is like not very good looking, I call it. And so I saw the lock in the car come up at that time, right? And then I thought maybe I can get out. And I had this surge of energy, and I escaped because he was just too preoccupied with trying to start the car and get out of there, and opening the hood and all of these things while I'm trapped in this car. And he probably thought I was too beat up to leave. So here I come out, and covered in blood and kind of limping my way through this place, a gas station. And long story short, he was caught. I was taken to the trauma unit. And then I had to go into this trial. And I didn't want to go, but I was told, if you don't go, he's going to do this to other people and it's going to be your fault. so, um, so long story short, it was very traumatic. And, some days passed and people found out. It was in the news, it was everywhere. He was a very rich and important politician who disguised as public transportation. So it was a very big case. And people would encounter me and they would say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that you survived." And they would be like, "Girl, you're going to be grateful in a few years that this happened." Or they would say, "Everything happens for a reason, Elayna." Or they would say, "You're strong. You're going to get through this." And every time they said those words, Randy, I felt like my suffering didn't matter. I felt like they didn't care. And I know that they meant well. And I know that they were trying to motivate me. But every single time I just heard, "We don't want to hear what happened to you. We don't know that you're suffering. We don't care to hear that you hate your entire body and that life is so hard for you right now." And so for 6 months, I go through this, and every single day I wake up and I'm disappointed that I'm alive. And I felt so alone. And so in 6 months after that, in October, it was October 28th of 1996, I start to go to school. I start to restart my life, trying to lay low so nobody recognizes me and start to tell me how grateful they are that I went through this, but I didn't die, at least. And so my brother and I get a ride home from school. And there's a motorcycle that swerves in front of the car. My friend who's driving lost control of the car. We flip it, like 3 times and smash into a palm tree. And I get trapped inside of the car, or at the bottom of the car. And I'm taken immediately to the ER, and they say, "No, we can't do anything for her." I am pronounced dead on arrival. My brother starts to beg and weep so that the EMTs and the doctors turn their attention to me. And then I go into a coma for 8 days. So during this time, I had many revelations, and it was a very spiritual time for me. But the most important issue, Randy, is that I could hear everyone. I could see them sitting next to me while I'm intubated. I have an aerial view of the whole thing, and I can feel more deeply, more deeply connected to these people's spirit. And the funny thing is that when they motivated me, I wanted to die. But now that they didn't know I was hearing them, they were all, and I usually get really emotional saying this because I can feel it again. They were saying things like, "Oh my goodness, she never caught a break." Or, "Poor little girl, like she's so young, she's been through so much." And they would say, "Oh my goodness, like I can't believe like she gets raped and kidnapped and now this." And hearing those people break down for me and validate what I've been waiting to hear for so long. I was dying, but I wanted to live. And I made a decision, and I had, a lot of things that we're not going to go into because they're not relevant right now in my coma. But what is truly relevant for everyone that's listening and watching today is that validation, when people cried with me, cried for me, when they said how horrible it was, everything that I had experienced, I wanted to live. I decided to live. I fought for my life. And I woke up and 19 broken bones and brain injuries and all of the things. I had to relearn to do everything. And I couldn't do many things for myself for many months. But I was so happy because I felt loved. I felt like my pain mattered to other people. And so sometimes we choose to motivate people or to not say anything about what they're going through because we don't know what to say. But the truly thing to say is, you know what, like, my heart hurts that you're sad. That's it. If it's true, of course, it has to be genuine. But like, if you go through something, Randy, and I say to you, like, oh my goodness, like, I'm so sad to hear that. That's just it. Not, oh, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So nobody wants to hear that it'll be okay when they're in pain. I always say, when someone's in pain, be present, not positive. And so that's how I learned that big lesson. And that's why validation, I think that is the biggest key, not only in the workplace, but everywhere in our life. So that was a long one, but I just wanted you to hear the stark contrast.
Hmm. Hmm. You know what? I love these messages that you're sharing because they're just a slight little shift in the thinking process, but they can make such a big difference in the end, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're always like confused. Okay, someone's in pain, whatever it is they're suffering from. What do you say? You always say, I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Sorry this happened to you. But what other things can people say? I'm hurting for you. I'm feeling for you. I'm here for you. You want to talk, you want to have a shoulder, different things like that. But you're right. It's just so important. So what I want to know is, can you tell us, so this is like a lot of the personal stuff and you're giving us personal examples. If we shift it into the workplace for a second, what can people do in the workplace to shift to thrive through conflict and create emotional safety in the workplace?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I created this model called Communication C.P.R. And the shift is that when there's conflict or pain in the workplace, we usually start with the intent. So, for example, Randy and Elayna have something, maybe I hurt your feelings, Randy, and you're like, I don't want to work with her. I don't want to be on this project with Elayna because she hurt my feelings. And I would say something like, well, I didn't mean to. That, you misunderstood. That wasn't my intention. And so the shift is very simple. I can share it in one sentence. Is basically go to the impact first. So rather than stating my intention, is focusing on the impact. So as a leader, I would say, well, I understand that this was not your intention, Elayna, but like, let's think about Randy for a moment. What's going on, Randy? Why did that hurt you? How can we not hurt you? Your feelings, and where does this come from? And how can we make this a safe place for you so that we don't invalidate you, so that we don't gaslight you, so that we don't oppress you, so that we don't offend you, so that we don't insult you? So there's a lot happening. There are so many lived experiences in the workplace. And we need to know that when someone cries out for help, or when someone feels that they were emotionally injured, we need to care for them first and then talk about the intention. So impact first and then intention. That's a very, very subtle shift. But when we go to the impact first, we can help that person feel seen and safe and validated. And then we go to the intent. But it's so different because the amygdala, the part of the brain that's our emotional center, has already been calmed with the validation. If I say, Randy, I'm so sad that what I said hurt you, and I'm going to do my best to not say that again. And please come to me if I ever hurt you again. now you're going to be thinking from a different place, from a healed place. And when I say that wasn't my intention, I want you to know that I didn't mean it that way, and I didn't know what you had been through before. Now you're going to accept this apology. But when you're injured, you're not in a place to do that. That's why validation and impact first and then intent matters so much.
Okay, perfect. So tell us a little bit about your 3-step communication model to help leaders approach emotional injuries at work.
Yeah, so it's CPR, just like what they performed on me when I had that car accident, is care, perspective, and repair. So basically, first you care for the person who's impacted. P is go and find everybody's perspective. So we're not putting blame on anyone. We're finding out all of the perspectives of the people involved and finding understanding together. And then we repair. And repair is the one that actually never, never gets implemented if we don't first do the other two, because we can't try to repair something if we don't know the root of it. So repair is only possible when we know the care, when we perform care, so that everybody has their amygdala calm down, and now we can actually focus on perspectives that are clean from trauma. Then we find out what can we do as a group together to repair and to prevent this from happening. And I always give an example of when we had that car accident. They put a stop sign in there after the car accident happened. It's like, okay, what can we do so that no one else crashes into this palm tree? And so in the workplace, we need to definitely first care for everyone so that everybody feels seen, safe, supported. Then we find out the perspective of everybody, and then we find what policies, what procedures, what tools and strategies can we put in place so that people are not injured in the workplace, and what policies can we have so that they can have trust that leadership has their back, and that we're not going to motivate them, we're going to make change happen.
Okay, perfect. I love that. I love that. And what are the 3 top success secrets?
I think the 3 top success secrets for anyone, not only for leaders, but for any company or brand, are to, number 1, know the who they're doing what for. So it's like 3 questions, and it's focusing on the who. Who are we talking to? Who are we serving? And focusing on that person and speaking their language and reaching their heart and serving them, then knowing their personal why. And this is the values, this is the core values and the core essence of why people do what they do. And then I would say is timing, is the when, the what is the best timing for us to do something. And I think, a lot of things, people say that success is doing the right thing at the right time. And so I think that the timing piece comes from research. And I think, all of this is to say that the key to success in any business is relationships. It's starting with the who and the why of the people, and really the timing, spending time to research and to pour into people. It's relationship, it's all, business is relationships, and that's the best and most eloquent way that I can put it into words. When we relate, when we have a conversation, that's when we can see magic happen.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. And thank you for that. So tell us a little bit about what your future plans are to grow your business.
Well, right now I'm working on a book series called The Gifts of Pain. And the first book in the series is actually launching this Saturday, which is really cool. And I have a lot of plans, but that's the one that I'm most excited about. It's a compilation book where I teach authors my story method to storytelling, and it's just being a lot of fun to help people alchemize and transform these stories into something that's going to bring them passive income.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, love it. So I want to acknowledge, you shared some really personal stuff and some very painful things and experiences that you've gone through. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that. But I always say that regardless what our life experiences are, we go through certain things and then we take that and improve our lives and other people's lives in many different ways. And you've done that and you're doing that. You continue to do it. So thank you for doing that, taking those experiences and trying to make a difference in the world and people's lives. So if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Thank you, Randy, and thank you for those beautiful words and for having me be part of this amazing summit with so many wonderful leaders. And yeah, if anyone wants to reach me, my blog and website is thepositivemom.com. And also I'm on every social media platform at The Positive Mom.
Love that. That's perfect. Okay, great. And are there any final words you want to say to us?
Yeah, I would love to say that in leadership and in life, we're gonna find a lot of people that are gonna hurt us, and we usually say like, "What doesn't kill you make you stronger," or "Thank you, haters," or "Thank you to those who hurt me," and I want to shift that. I want to say, "Thank yourself for being strong enough to change your life, to find a positive path. It wasn't them who helped you become who you are, it was you."
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Thank you for that message. It's very important, very impactful. And thank you for sharing with us, on our live and, just being vulnerable and being you and showing us that there, with a very small shift in our thinking process, we can make major changes, right? Whether it's in your personal life or your business life or in the office or wherever you are, just a tiny little shift. And sometimes we need to hear it from somebody else in order to know what that is and to realize, become aware and conscious of it. So thank you for making the difference that you do and for sharing some amazing tips with us and some ideas for a shift.
I appreciate you, Randy. Thank you.
Well, the next time.